The whole concept of ESG, it was flawed from the beginning. So ESG, if people aren't familiar with it, stands for environmental, social, and governance. And it's been pushed by extreme woke activists for years. It's somewhat of a catch-all term, and they use it to try and pressure corporations into prioritizing social activism over actually pursuing a profit for shareholders. The term ESG originated from a 2004 United Nations report. Yeah, the UN. Shocking, isn't it? But it was claiming companies should set aside a profit focus, and if they just took on enough environmental and social justice work, it would be beneficial to the public and to the companies themselves. Now, the concept is utter pie-in-the-sky bunk, and despite nearly two decades of effort on this crap, it's finally failed. Corporations only exist for one thing, and that's to make a return for the shareholders. They're not charities, nor should they be expected to be. While good corporate citizenship can aid with a company's public reputation and help build brand loyalty, ESG goes well beyond that with its demands on corporations. Profit is supposed to be considered a secondary goal to ESG. Now, the ESG movement, is rather insidious and compelling. It's really backdoor socialism. Rather than trying to directly convince companies to embrace woke policies that run counter to the company's own objectives, they would target instead things like large asset management companies and get them to push the ESG, basically saying don't invest in it unless they have a high ESG score. Now, BlackRock is a company you've probably heard of now and then, and it was a leader in pushing ESG upon companies. It was kind of thought that even if consumers don't really care about ESG targets, the companies would embrace ESG policies if they were strangled from incoming investment by these management companies. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, the name sort of works, doesn't it, spearheaded such efforts. Now, Fink now is distancing himself from the entire ESG movement. So, whoa, okay, no, that's enough of that. We're not going to do this anymore. Yeah, but he did a lot of damage on the way up. Because shareholders will only put up with so much. They want a return on any investments they entrusted to these asset managers, and they couldn't care less if the company has unisex washrooms or sets its emission targets above and beyond those required by legislation. They're demanding investments in profitable companies rather than woke ones. Most companies can't be both. Retailers, they can't pay the insane living wages demands being made by woke people while maintaining competitive pricing, of course, because then they scream about the inflation when the costs go up. And then, of course, adding environmental regulations doesn't win any government love because the governments just keep piling on new regulations on top of the old ones. Appeasing the woke in the name of ESG has only managed to make profits smaller. Now, some ESG-inspired idiocy will go down in business history, such as the Budweiser debacle with trans activist Dylan Mulvaney. Even a first-year marketing student should have seen the consequences coming when Budweiser decided to take on the flamboyant Mulvaney as a brand ambassador. Budweiser had over a century of carefully cultivated market development under its belt. The brand loyalty for Budweiser was the envy of the very competitive beer industry, and it was shattered by this bizarre choice to go down the trans activist rabbit hole. How could somebody have thought for a moment that a market demographic made up predominantly of cowboys and blue-collar workers would want their favorite beer associated with a colorful trans activist? And it's not a question of tolerance. It's just knowing your market. The thing is, the luminary who came up with this idea to bring Mulvaney on as a brand ambassador wasn't thinking of reality. She was wrapped up in the mythical world of ESG. It might take a generation for Budweiser sales to recover to where they were only last year. Nobody chooses their consumer products based on ESG scores. Investors don't pick investment vehicles based on ESG scores either. The reality is finally coming home to roost, and as the old saying goes, go woke, go broke, and it's proving accurate. Silicon Valley Bank, they went broke, and they went whole hog with ESG. In its 2022 ESG report, an ESG report, the company said it seeks directors on its board with knowledge of or experience with key risk oversight and risk management functions to help oversee the dynamic risks we face. Yeah, Trudeau-style word salad, ESG garbage, and it led to the collapse of the bank. The list of ESG failures is growing. Well, ESG language, though, is finally disappearing from corporate boardrooms. One of the dumbest and most expensive social trends in human history is finally just come and gone. Unfortunately, though, as with supporters of communism, the supporters of ESG just think it hasn't been done right yet. They will rebrand the concept and try and push it through another way. In the end, though, money talks and ESG walks.